welcome to the channel. We just received a new patch note, so in this episode we'll do a quick review of the upcoming changes. And I must admit that the new update surprised me with incredible essences for some classes, especially for Necromancer. Simply, I can't wait to get them, but first things first. The update will be rolled out on February 20th and 21st. Depending on your region, it contains Survivor's BANE updates, new PvP mode, Tower War, returning events, 40 to new legendary items, and class balance, feature updates and bug fixes. The first interesting thing is the new PvP mode with towers, and if I'm not mistaken, it will be possible to assemble teams, just like in the Course Tower War. So basically, this time-limited event will simply make this type of skirmish more accessible, what in general is a good change. And at this point, I would like to move on to the most interesting thing, which are new essences.
Necromancer. Main hand. Grim Scythe now empowers you with Grim Calling, causing your primary attacks to unleash slashing scythes when they hit enemies.
And here it is worth saying that finally efforts have been made to make Grim Scythe a useful skill. We will see what exactly is hidden behind this description, but it looks like it's going to be extra damage added to the primary attack.
Pants. Dark Curse now creates a miasma that follows you, damaging nearby enemies and continually generating corpses. Offhand. Corpse Lance no longer targets enemies, and instead now summons more lances from each corpse that seek out random enemies. Helm. When Corpse Lance attacks an enemy, it has a 7% chance to generate a corpse.
And both the new Dark Curse and Corpse Lance essences are something I can't wait for. It seems that not only will we be able to create corpses much more dynamically, but we will also use them extremely effectively with the new lance. Generally, I like the idea of using skills that follow the character. I think it might be like Wizard's Arcane Torrent or something similar. The difference is that the more enemies we defeat, the stronger the skill will be. So it's definitely a good and dynamic solution for PvE. PvP-wise, difficult to say, but I have good feelings about it.
Chest. Enemies affected by your Dark Curse are weakened, increasing your critical hit chance against them by 10%. Shoulders. Bone armor increases movement speed by 30% while active.
Here both critical and movement speed are great. It's hard to say whether the new Dark Curse essence will work with this, but additional critical chance for Necromancer is always welcome. Referring to movement speed, it will be an alternative to Crusader. These two bonuses are unlikely to be added together, but the ability to buff everyone with additional speed is promising. With all that being said, I am extremely pleased that the Necromancer will finally get essences that have nothing to do with summons, and I hope this turns the Necro meta upside down. Interestingly, the new Wizard essences look like they are summons.
Wizard. Main hand. Arcane Wine now summons a Stormbird that follows you and charges at random enemies. Shoulders. Disintegrate now summons an Arcane Deputy that follows you and channels a Disintegrate beam at enemies. Offhand. Ice Armor now bestows the Grace of Thunder upon you and your nearby summons, which will periodically strike random enemies with lightning. Chest. Ice Armor's duration is increased by 30%. Pants. Damage you take is reduced by 18%, while Disintegrate is active. Helm. Scorch now summons two Scorching Serpents that follow you and charge at random enemies, causing them to burn.
So just tell me, Have we just received a new summoner in the game? For me, that's what it looks like. It's hard to say whether they will be targetable or not, but in the case of Wizard, essences are also extremely interesting. I think that this is my curse. Whenever I want to change class, they introduce new update with amazing essences.
Crusader. Chest. Conjuration of Light now calls for bodyguards of light to surround and follow you, slashing enemies with their swords. Shoulders. Whenever falling sword deals damage 3 times, it will call a shaft of light, dealing additional damage. Pants. Dry and quarter no longer grants you a mount, and instead now summons 2 horses of light that charge at enemies, damaging them and causing knockback. Helm. Holy Banner now rallies you and nearby summons, increasing attack speed and critical hit chance. Main hand. Falling sword now attaches the mark of the sword to you and nearby summons, causing swords to continually fall at the location of the mark. Offhand. Each ally affected by Holy Banner increases the movement speed of you and your allies by 15%, up to a maximum of 45%.
Here the Crusader also receives solutions focused on summons, although it is balanced with offensive skills and the possibility of buffing. I think the Crusaders community will appreciate the new skills.
Demon Hunter. Chest. Smokescreen now throws firebombs at a target location that slow and burn enemies. Main hand. Crossbow shot has a 15% chance of firing an additional shot. Pants. The cooldown of spinning chakram is reduced by 0.15 seconds whenever your primary attack hits an enemy. Offhand. Spinning chakram now throws a windwheel blade that drags enemies along its path before spinning in place and exploding. Helm. Multishot causes an explosion when hitting burning enemies, dealing additional damage to nearby enemies. Shoulders. Daring Swing now shoots fire arrows that ignite its path and cause enemies to burn.
I don't see such game changers here for Demon Hunter. Maybe I'm wrong, but compared to Necromancer or Wizard, it seems like just alternative for skills, which were offensive anyway.
Monk Shoulders. Imprisoned Fist now targets an area, dealing damage and immobilizing enemies, making them unable to use dash skills. Offhand. Wave Strike now fires piercing air blades that damage and knock back enemies. Pants. Flying Kick now launches a flaming spirit that damages and burns enemies along its blazing path. Chest. Wave Strike deals more damage the farther you are from your target, up to a maximum of 40%. Mystic allies will slow enemies they damage, reducing their movement speed by 35% for 2 seconds. Main hand. Mystic allies now summons 2 spirit allies of wind that fire piercing air blades at enemies.
Here Monk receives similarly balanced essences to the Crusader. However, turning off dash skills can be very useful. We all know how irritating a bubble with a similar effect is.
Barbarian. Pants. Activating Leap increases your critical hit chance by 10% for 3 seconds. Main hand. Whirlwind now consumes life instead of energy, allowing you to maintain your whirlwind as long as blood still flows in your veins. Chest. Each time you are attacked, the critical hit chance of whirlwind is increased by 6% for 2 seconds, up to a maximum of 18%. Helm. Demoralize is now Ancestral Protector, granting you an absorb shield that makes you immune to knockback effects while active. Shoulders. During Wrath of the Berserker, each critical hit will reduce its cooldown by 0.3 seconds, up to a maximum of 1.8 seconds. Offhand. Wrath of the Berserker no longer increases attack and movement speed. Instead, it now increases critical hit damage and gives you life drain.
I wonder if we will have a meta of endlessly spinning barbarians who will desperately want to drain your life. It is all I can say about these essences.
Blood Knight. Helm. Mephitic Cloud now damages nearby enemies and drains their life.
More life drain for BK.
Chest. Whirling Strike applies a drain mark to enemies for 5 seconds. When you damage a marked enemy, you will recover life equal to 5% of the damage. Shoulders, Swarm of Bats now consumes your life. To sustain the swarm, as it hunts down enemies. Main hand, whenever you are attacked during Siphon Blood, you will deal additional damage to enemies you are siphoning. Tense, each time you are attacked, Swarm of Bats damage is increased by 6% for 2 seconds, up to a maximum of 18%. Offhand, each time you are attacked, Ravage's attack speed is increased by 35% for 2 seconds.
In the case of BK, we get something similar to what the Barbarian received. Some life drain, but also life-consuming swarm of bats. I'm curious whether this solution will be used in PvP, and whether Blood Knights will now stay in the eye for much longer. Nevertheless, BK did not receive any I believe deserved nerfs, as we can see in the class balance section, so his massive damage remains unchanged. In feature updates, you can learn that some jump skills improvements will be introduced. In the vault, shadows will be able to enter the 4th floor with no fear of any losses. Adjustments to the armory and familiars, as well as some fixes. And that's it. Let me know in the comment what you think about these new essences. I am so curious whether you like it or not. Obviously, as always, thanks for watching.